All right, the president, by the way, is going to be heading to Montana. Right now, he's going to be pushing these themes in a big speech later on tonight. We have Great America PAC Chairman Eric Beach, Democratic strategist Andrew Feldman. All right, Eric, on this and what you see happening, this could easily get, and I have great respect for Lee Speakerman, but this could easily get out of control, and I'm worried if it already is. Markets notwithstanding, my worry is that it's going to get nuts. What do you think?
Well, look, I think Lee was right in many points. I mean, I just met with a group of workers that have invested in Peru pension funds or with Peru, and Peru is refusing to pay back $6 billion. And I think they have an ally here in President Trump. President Trump understands that he puts American workers first. And really the tariffs, you know, they dated back all the way back to 1787 through 1914. They were the greatest source of revenue and really funded our government. We didn't change to the federal income tax till after that. So
we're going to fight tariffs we don't like abroad with tariffs here. I don't know. It just seems weird.
Well, I mean, again, it's meant to help out the industrialists, also the workers.
No, I understand.
And I think that And this is something that we have to send a signal to the rest of the world. We can't have exports going through Canada at 300% and not get some sort of return back. And this is, again, in the short term, we're going to see some changes, but I think this is going to be healthy for us in the long term. Once again, everybody that I talked to in terms of the workers that invested with Peru said, wait a second, this is something that needs to be paid back. And there's no pressure being put on countries like Peru and other countries to say, let's have an even and fair level trading deal. When we invest with you, you got to come back and invest with us.
All right, Andrew Feldman, on the Democratic side, I mean, a lot of these big multinational deals, NAFTA, for example, the Trans-Pacific Partnership under President Obama, the earlier one under Bill Clinton, unions chafed at them then. They continue chafing at them now. That is an active base for Democrats. So it puts a lot of Democrats in this weird position. What's yours?
No, this is not a weird position, Neil. You brought it up in your last segment. What Donald Trump is doing is not compromise, it's alienation. And he's alienating our friends all around the world, right? That's not what Democrats want to see. We want to see fair trade deals, not tariffs, because what's happening here, Neil, with working people across this country, and Donald Trump won't admit this, but he is raising their taxes with these tariffs and throwing them, you know, up against the wall and waiting for them to stick. And people here, working class families, are going to see their costs of goods raised and make it harder to make ends meet. So, you know, look, this is not coming to the table and compromising and coming to a better deal that works for all Americans. This is, again, alienation, like you said in your last segment.
Well, I subscribe to that view. It's not a right or left thing to me. I just think it's a wrong thing what we're doing here, again, with understandable intentions, Eric. And I do wonder about the impact down the road for our farmers, already seeing the price of all of their goods tumble in the futures markets amid fears the Chinese just stop buying or other countries just stop buying. They're feeling that right now.
Neil, Congress just passed the largest spending bill in our nation's history. We haven't reduced our federal income tax till last year in terms of our tax plan, and that's even only about 1.5 points. So, I mean, again, we're shifting the burden to our American workers by taxing them. We're one of the highest taxes.
What about American farmers? What about American farmers?
Well, I think, again, once in the short term, folks like Canada, they're going to need our exports. China's going to need our exports.
I think that's an arrogant view. I don't mean to be dismissive of you, but I think our view is we're the economic engine of the world. They need us a lot more than we need them. There might be some truth to that. I just think it's a very risky posture to take, and we send a message to the world like, hey, we're all that and you're not. And I don't know if that's the right posture.
Well, I mean,
why are we blowing up relationships that we have had strong relationships with Canada, Mexico, France, Germany for years, and we are blowing up these allied relationships with Justin Trudeau and Merkel? It just doesn't make any sense. And look what's happening with the markets.
Eric?
Well, the markets are doing quite fine, actually, and so is the
They're up and down every single day.
No, I mean, he's right about that. And the markets, by and large, have been sort of patient with this. Today's another example. They think the
markets don't lie.
But maybe, Eric, cooler heads will prevail, and you're right to say that here. But are you worried that for a party that has this laissez-faire view, the government should get involved, the government should have a hands-off policy, that it's anything but now, that it's like Republicans are an upside-down world here?
No, I disagree with that entirely. I mean, I relate it to the Paris Accord. Everyone said we're going to tick off our allies when we withdraw from the Paris Accord, and that was a bad deal for America. That burden was all on us. It wasn't for our allies. Like Lee mentioned in your earlier segment, of course Germany's going to rail against it when they're getting a $100 billion trade deficit with us. This is meant to level the playing field, and the reason why our allies haven't done so already because they've never been asked. Donald Trump has the political courage to take this on going into the midterm elections, and I think it's going to be rewarding for the Republicans. Yes,
Andrew,
can I
Republican president.
Can I bring this back to working families in this country? Because Donald Trump says that he is for the American worker. But guess what? Working families are struggling in this country. The United Way just put out a study that shows 40% of Americans can't afford middle-class basic. That means transportations, a cell phone, child care.
Well, you can't blame President Trump for that. Now you're just going as far afield as you said your counterpart was. You can't blame him for that.
Neil, because we are not, because what these tariffs are not going to help your average American worker and your working families.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you both very, very much. A very spirited debate.